Hello, and welcome to the StoryFirst podcast, a weekly show where we talk about Web3 NFT projects focused on storytelling. We believe story-focused NFT projects are built to last and will form the foundation of a new breed of hugely influential properties in gaming, entertainment, art, and beyond. The hashtag StoryFirst podcast highlights the mavericks who are leveraging the power of NFTs to tell the blockbuster stories of tomorrow. My name is Devin Sawyer, and I'm joined by my esteemed co-host and co-founder, James Devrin. James, please say hi and a quick intro.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name's James. I'm the art director for Legends of Cypher, and I'm also part of the team at StoryFirst DAO. That's about it.
Yes, thank you. My name is Devin, also one of the founders of Legends of Cypher and StoryFirst DAO. StoryFirst DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization with a mission to accelerate the growth and success of story-focused NFT projects through media, research, education, and project incubation. But we are not here today to talk about us. Today on the hashtag StoryFirst podcast, we are most honored to welcome Matt and Mike from the Hedgie Fund community. We're honored to host this podcast to highlight a great StoryFirst project, but one with a greater purpose to support an important cause, bringing awareness to autism acceptance. As we speak about this project, it is available for minting on Galaxis. I myself got the NFT. We might talk about that later. But gentlemen, please say hi to our audience and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having us. This is very exciting. My name is Mike, and I'm from Johannesburg, South Africa. I run a small independent animation studio here, and we do mostly 2D and stop motion. And yeah, I'm sitting here amongst some of our sets that we've built, some for this project, some for an upcoming project. And yeah, that's me. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Matt.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm also in Johannesburg, South Africa, but the accent says that I'm American. I've been living here for 16 years, and Mike and I are close friends. And yeah, I'm a co-founder of the Hedgie Fund. I'm not necessarily involved in the animation side of things, but I'm much more into the crypto and NFT side of things. So I helped start that up.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So, well, you know, as we looked into your project and we had some discussions prior to the podcast, it was exciting to hear that you know, the Hedgie story has been in the works for some time, and it's a great cause. And Matt, you've kind of come in to help bring it to the crypto space and leverage the opportunities with NFTs to raise funds for the project. I believe you describe it as one of the first short animated films to be produced through fundraising through NFTs. So that's pretty exciting. But you know, and we'll definitely talk about that today. But let's start with the story. Just tell us the origin of the story, what it's about, what would get the audience excited about watching this animated film.
So Sam the Hedgehog is the animated short film that we've been working on for about 8 years now. And Sam the Hedgehog is a short film about an autistic hedgehog raised among sheep. And told in verse, it spreads the message that people with autism, autistic people aren't, need to be valued and accepted for who they are. They don't need to be fixed. And autism, it started off as an autism awareness project, but we've really come to embrace the concept of autism acceptance, which is, goes a step further. And yeah, so we started pitching this project years ago, like I said, and we pitched this. We came up with this idea of a hedgehog as a metaphor for autism around a table where we were pitching different ideas with friends. We were like, we all want to make movies, but we've got to start somewhere. So and we didn't have that many ideas. My business partner Johan and I that were there that night, but we had this idea that stemmed from a meeting of an autistic hedgehog, and someone said, "Oh, that's such a great metaphor. Can I write a script for it?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure, that would be amazing." And it snowballed from there. So yeah, we've working on this little short film for a while now, and along the way, I have a nephew that was diagnosed with autism. We've got a junior animator that joined us, who's on the spectrum, and so the subject matter has really been kind of certainly a part of my life. But yeah, so this has kind of been our passion project now for several years, and every time there's a lull in the studio, then we jump on Sam the Hedgehog and get a few more frames done or shoot a few more background plates.
That's great. Yeah. And I love that, that central to the opportunity, there's many ways we could, I too have a nephew with autism, and yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you're spreading the acceptance message, and what a cool way to create an animated story about it. Similar to our, our own project, Legends of Cypher, we really wanted to tackle the debate of centralization versus decentralization, as it is the ethos of crypto and Web3. And we felt that a science fiction story kind of takes some of the edge off the conversation, allows it to happen a little more organically, a creative way to bring narrative to life. And it sounds like you found that in Sam the Hedgehog, a way to educate and maybe entertain at the same time.
Yeah, our kind of like the ultimate dream is to not just tell stories. We as a studio, we come from a background of like explainer videos and adverts, and getting soap selling soap kind of gets old pretty quickly, and we were looking for a story with meaning, and that's the ultimate dream, is to tell a story with meaning. And I think the most compelling stories always mean something more than just or stand for something more than just the characters involved and the nuts and bolts of beats and scenes and whatever. There's a larger sort of theme that's infused through everything, and that's really what's driven this whole project, is that message and that theme and the.
Hey, Mike, could you maybe go into some of the symbolism? You mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. You guys were spitballing around the table, and you said that a hedgehog was a great metaphor for autism, and I imagine that all the other characters being sheep has some sort of symbolism to it as well. Could you maybe dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's where it started. We were like, a hedgehog is a little bit prickly on the outside, and Matt's daughter actually has a hedgehog as a pet, and I tried to hold it once, and it's very prickly, and it like gets a bit aggro, and so as an animal, a hedgehog is very prickly on the outside. It's very timid. It kind of often jumps up into a little ball and hides from the rest of the world outside. It's easily overwhelmed by inputs, sensory inputs, and so on. And we're like, that describes an autistic kid pretty well. I mean, autism is such a huge sphere, and there's so many different ways that people are affected or experience or present autism. But we were just like, that's perfect. He's a little bit prickly on the outside, takes fright easily, jumps up into his little ball, but on the inside, he's really soft and cuddly and needs love just like any other normal kid. And then for the neurotypical people, the normal people in the film, then we kind of went with sheep. We all like sheep have gone astray. Kind of sheep almost symbolize like the herd or like that. Yeah, that works quite well. At one stage, we wanted to make it goats actually, and then Sam went to school and the classroom was full of goat kids, but we ended up going with sheep. And but then through the course of the film, it starts off where there's Sam, mom and dad are sheep. He's sent off to lamb school. All the kids are sheep. There's staff at school. Everyone's sheep. But then slowly during the course of the film, you realize, no. There's a lot of different looking sheep for a start. But by the time you get to the end of the film, you're like, oh, there's porcupines and there's hippos and there's like actually the world is a regular zoo, and there's so many different types of people out there, and that again, back to that central message of like acceptance, and not just autism acceptance. It's a theme that's actually quite universal. It can be applied to gender or race or any other number of things.
Awesome.
So that perspective opens up throughout the film. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That it's quite closed in, and the difference is noticeable. And then throughout the film, you kind of get glimpses into there being just a wide variety, a spectrum of personalities out there.
Exactly, and then there's sort of a climactic scene towards the end of the film, and you see a lot of characters then in one shot, and then you realize, oh, there's a lot of different animals out there.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about ideas of like taking it further one day. Maybe rabbits represent Down syndrome kids, or maybe we move away from like conditions like that. And there's various ways we played with taking that sort of similar symbolism further.
That's a good segue to, talking about the characters. I'd like to talk about the origin of taking this to Web3, so the NFT fundraising. What inspired that? Why?
Should I answer that one, Mike?
No, you go ahead. Your turn.
So just to preface it, I think Mike has done he's explored many different avenues of funding for this film, and currently, as it stands right now, it's 60%. Am I right? 60%,
roughly
funded. Roughly, been 60% funded. A lot of that has come out of his own pocket to be able to fund that. But I've known him for a long time. He's done crowdfunding on Indiegogo. And gotten grants, smallish size government grants to be able to produce this film, but it only got so far. And so a couple of years ago, I work as a digital media strategist. I offered to help perhaps like maybe do some paid media advertising. Yeah, that didn't necessarily work out, but nonetheless, when it was about August of last year, August of 2021, and it was the height of NFT summer, what everybody called it back then. And NFTs were just popping off left and right. Everything was popping up. Many projects per day. And I was just thinking about Michael's project, and how amazing it would be to make like a profile picture project out of Sam, and how easy that would be, because all of the assets are already there. He's already done so much of the background sets. He's done so much of the animations already. And so I started working on a PowerPoint presentation to my friend here, and made him like a 28 slide PowerPoint presentation. I went to his house on a Sunday afternoon in my best clothes, sat down, plugged into his television, told him to get his kids outside and play so that I could have some time alone. And I presented it to him. And I'll tell you what, that presentation was like probably one of the most fun presentations I've ever worked on and presented. And because, like I said, it just started, all the ideas just started coming with how you could take that story that he's already worked on for all these years and create an NFT out of it, and then beyond that, be able to add so many extra features and utility and functionality and community engagement, all those types of things. Those types of ideas just really started to come through pretty easily. So that's kind of how we got started in that, nice. and it really comes out of necessity, because here in South Africa, as I mentioned, the funding for this, there's not enough people to be able who can afford to be able to give to essentially a charitable project that's creating a movie about autism awareness that's going to be released for free to the public. And so there were times where the project wasn't going to be able to be finished. And so reaching out to the Web3 community, reaching out to the NFT community is a whole new audience, a global audience that we can reach from here in South Africa.
Love it. I'm going to share my screen quickly because I would like to talk a little. I'd like to dig in a little bit to how you've kind of brought Sam the Hedgehog to life as an NFT. So hoping this works in the actual podcast recording itself. Yeah. Okay. So this is on Galaxis. So Galaxis, another partner of Story Prima as well, a great NFT exchange and distribution platform. So really excited to see it there. Maybe talk about the Galaxis partnership. Like what was it about Sam the Hedgehog and the NFT that brought you into the Galaxis ecosystem?
Yeah, I think the main thing there is that Galaxis gives you the opportunity to be able to add all those extra utility layers as part of your NFT. So many NFTs are just a JPEG. And so we like to say not just a JPEG when we talk about our project or similar projects. And so we're able to add in the utility traits, badges that describe every single detail of each layer, whether it's the background or Sam's prickles or his hat or whatever he's holding in his hands. All these objects and props, which are from the film, by the way. These are handcrafted props and handcrafted sets from the film. And then there's 2D animation or illustration on top of that. And so yeah, we have physical redeemables and digital redeemables, as you can see here. And the badges, like I said, explain all of the artwork layers. But I think what really stands out with the badges in particular, which I like to highlight the most, is the fact that we're able to explain a little bit about why there's the detail that we put into each NFT is there. For example, like there's certain arm actions that Sam does in each of the NFTs, and one of them is called stimming. And that's where he's waving his hands up and down, and it's essentially what a person with autism or an autistic person would do to self-soothe in a way. And so that's something that I think is foreign to a lot of neurotypical people. And so using these badges, we're able to essentially educate and spread awareness and spread education about autism and autism acceptance.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things that I noticed immediately about the NFT when I saw it, and I think it was something to do with the wallpaper. It's like the level of detail that you guys went into from a story point of view. To support the environment and to support the immersion in the story. You went into so much detail. And that, to me, that really tells of like great story making. And it's just so exciting that you're actually educating as well, like providing that, for example, that stemming arm action is, people are going to look at that and firstly think, well, what is that? And then learn about it. And, that's more information in their mind, and that's more acceptance out there. So really great job on that.
Yeah,
guys.
we've been obviously studying the NFT space and all the projects therein. I can't say I've seen too many that utilize the utility traits in any form, or the scarcity traits or the rarity traits, however you want to refer to them, as an educational vehicle. But that's brilliant. So yeah, I went ahead and bought my own, minted my own. So I guess what I could expect next, and what I hope our audience gets out there and mints their own, and what can we expect that eventually our characters will be showing up here? And
Yeah, so we haven't done the art reveal yet, so that'll probably be at the end of the month. And then there's also the drop of the badges, which is all those descriptive traits. That'll probably happen at the same time as the artwork reveal. And at a later date, we'll also be dropping various utility traits like the cameo appearances, props from the film, merchandise from the film, that sort of thing. So each NFT stands a chance to win, or to have one of those many different types of utility traits that we have.
Yeah, I was going to jump in there earlier and say my favorite of the utility traits is the cameo role. And so we actually did a similar thing with our Indiegogo project campaign a while back, and in 2017, and we designed a bunch of the like background characters of people that contributed to the campaign. So we're doing the exact same thing now. We've got the final climactic scene, and we've got 10 slots because the film's only 60% complete. There's still room to squeeze a few more background characters in, and we're gonna 10 people will get a cameo role, and they can send us a photo of themselves or their dog or whoever, and we'll design a character
Nice.
based on that and pop it in the film, and you can
Love it. And so the minting is on, I think, another 9 days. It's live for 9 more days, and then the reveal at that point.
Yeah. So April is Autism Awareness or World Autism Awareness Month. 2nd of April was World Autism Awareness Day. So we launched our public sale on the 2nd of April, and it's open for the full month of April. And then the reveal happens. It's like 2 or 3 days later. Galaxis rolls the dice and jumbles all the numbers, and
amazing.
However that works, and everyone gets to see what they got.
Yeah, exciting.
I did want to just tag on to what James was saying earlier, if I may, David.
Yeah, please.
Just to touch back on the storytelling and how. So one of the things that I got really, excited about this whole NFT thing was. Specifically for Sam the Hedgehog was it's opening up to new ways of funding and community building and stuff like that, but it's opening up new ways of storytelling as well. So when we were so one of the things that made it a no-brainer for us was that we've got the characters, we've got the sets, we could just photograph them and put them the effort needed to get the NFTs artwork together was it wasn't nothing, but it was relatively easy. But when we were going back through the sets, because we hadn't worked on the film for a little while, and we had a lot of interns coming through when we built the sets and adding little detail. Everyone's like added their own little piece, and I remember looking at the school notice board, which is, you can see the sets up here. The school office is there, and there's this notice board, and one of the interns had written something about please don't eat the playground grass or whatever, and I was like, that's funny, they're all sheep. And I was like, that's never going to make it into the film, no one's going to be able to see that. But when we put the wall or that background into the NFT, it opens up new ways of just fleshing out this universe and showing little details like that would never have been noticed in the film, but have been put in there. They've been thought about. Somebody sat down and thought about that. Like, what? Oh gosh, I've got to make a school notice board prop. What am I going to put on the school notice board? And someone's like put a little piece of themselves in there and thought about it. And like the family photos on the wall there. They actually feature quite prominently in the film in the opening sequence, but there's a story behind each and every one of those films, and you only photos, and you only see them for a couple of seconds. But there's photos from when Sam's a baby, and the family photo when they went to the photographer's studio and Sam threw a fit and he wouldn't like sit still for the photo. So the best one they got is like mom and dad holding Sam, and Sam's doing, causing chaos. And that was, bad day in the life of the Mouton family. And anyway, so it's just like,
it's immersive.
NFT is a whole new, format for storytelling.
I think it's really high value because you watch the film and you enjoy the film and learn from it, but the NFTs, even if you're just browsing, it slows the film down for you, and it allows you to go back almost frame by frame and see the detail that's been put into the set. And that's sort of one thing that I really want to touch on, because the NFT world is full of artwork of varying qualities and standards, but the sets behind you are absolutely incredible. Like, can go into some explanation of just how much difficulty it it takes to build that. In fact, I'm sure I saw in my research of your studio, I'm sure I saw you lathing, if that's the correct term.
Yeah, so there's a little.
Have you built that on a lathe? Have you?
Yeah, so we thought, oh, this will be easy. We'll be able to buy half the props off of like miniature stores and dolls' houses. You never quite find that. We've been able to acquire a few things that way, but the rocking chair was like, this is Sam's rocking chair. It's an important part of the. He rocks on the. It's a form of stimming. It helps to. We wanted a really nice rocking chair, and we liked this sort of old school style. We just couldn't find one that was pretty enough or the right scale or anything. So eventually I was like, okay, fine. We're just going to make it. But
wow.
Then we didn't want to just sculpt it out of clay. A lot of our props have been sculpted out of clay. Let me just grab this one. Yeah. So like, here's the globe on top of the bookshelf. We use Sculpey clay, but which is really great. You bake it in just a home oven and paint it up with acrylic. Most of our stuff has been built like that, but we wanted the wood textures, and so I went down this rabbit hole of like, let's make this rocking chair. Okay, so it's easy, right? We just need to put a couple pieces of wood on a lathe, but then I couldn't use a normal lathe because a normal lathe is too big. And eventually, long story short, lots of YouTubing and Googling. We have a little Dremel rotary tool, and I like custom built a lathe rig that ran off the Dremel rotary tool, and then used tiny little wood carving chisels to then lathe all the components, and then they're all.
This really isn't just storytelling. This is arts and crafts meets storytelling.
Yeah,
it's absolutely incredible, down to the textures and fabrics that you have. And I mean, I imagine even the wallpaper, and I see brickwork behind you. Like, are those? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if those were real miniature bricks.
Yeah, so this is for another project that we're working on for a client, actually. Those bricks were interesting because I don't know if you might not be able to see, but what makes them come alive is the shadow, right? And the 3D shape of the bricks. And so the way we did those was we sculpted them out of Sculpey clay as well, but like a little piece, like with a little segment with like jaggedy brick edges. And then we made a mold and cast a whole bunch of them, and then they could fit together, and we kind of tiled the wall with that, and then they get painted afterwards. So yeah, we learned a few tricks along the way. And I mean, the wallpaper up there, it's in one of the NFTs. I think we printed out like 30 or 40 different versions before we got all the right colors and the right whatever. And yeah,
and you designed it. Your team designed it.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Yeah.
Somebody came up with a concept, and then you guys designed it. This is no ordinary NFT project.
No.
So someone sat and painted little watercolor.
I mean, when you talk about the rarity traits, the rarity traits have the heart and soul of the artists in them, and it's pure creation. So that's pretty epic. Amazing.
And I think, you're talking about the storytelling. I mean, for me, the story of a hedgehog raised among sheep, and that's one story, but there's another whole story of like how the film was made, and and that's kind of like a concurrent, that's part of the story, really. And that's why we've been trying to put out, we've shot loads of behind the scenes footage at every stage of creation. And I grew up like watching like Lord of the Rings, hours worth of behind the scenes, and I love that stuff. Like, oh my goodness, that's how they made the orc costumes, or the this or the that. And I just remember that was, for me as a youngster, that was like the magic, where the magic was. And so we're trying to tell the story of making the story as well as the story itself. It's part of the story.
And then that's one of the value buy-ins of the NFT. Is it, Matt, you said that some of the props are, did you say some of the props are available with some of the NFT traits? Is that correct?
Yeah. So a small amount of the NFTs will get the prop utility trait, which literally will mean that you have to dox yourself first and tell us where you live, but we'll send it to you. We've been discussing how we're going to package it and display it to be able to send off to whoever wins those things, whether it be just a hat from the film in the NFTs or an actual piece of furniture. I think there's a few different types of props that we'll be giving away.
Is Sam's rocking chair one of those giveaways, or is that staying with you, Mike?
Over my dead body.
Yeah.
Maybe as like a high value 1 of 1 or something eventually. So I think this was not part of the initial batch of physical redeemables, but there's so many more to choose from. So when we, like Matt said, we want to package it nicely in a little container, like a little display container with a nice badge on it and stuff, and so it'll be kind of like a really nice keepsake that you can display on your shelf.
I'd love to pivot a little bit away from the story, but not too much, because I think it's a really important connection point, and that's in the intellectual property that you're essentially packaging in a beautiful way in the NFTs. So the community is, owning, I assume, their Sam the Hedgehog and the attributes associated to it. So I'd like to use that as a segue to talk about community and how are you guys approaching community engagement with the NFTs? What are the plans, or what have you done, or what do you plan to do there?
You want to take on that?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the first things that we've done as a project was just to be recognized and entrenched with the autism community, which is surprisingly quite large, even on NFT Twitter. Like if you're a part of that social network, we've met so many different people who either have children or who are themselves are autistic. And so that's really one of the first things that we've tried to entrench ourselves with. Beyond that, I think it just goes back to being able to get people to be a part of the film. And so really that's getting to see the behind the scenes content, to be able to have early access to the film before we release it publicly, and just be able to have all those physical things that really tie you back to the film. And so that's one of the big things that we really wanted to really lean into, was that we're not some big movie studio that's printing 10 million t-shirts and selling them at every single outlet mall across the country. I mean, this is a community project done by real people, and so when you join our Discord, you can ask questions, engage with us, and we'll actually answer. And I think that's a big difference between the regular film industry and an industry like this with Web3 and what we call Film 3. And so I think getting people interested is one of the first hurdles. So, but once they find out about how rich this entire project really is, I think people really become quite close fans. We have quite a few people that are very near and dear to us already, and the community itself, obviously being built upon acceptance of autism acceptance, it just lends itself to a whole nature of just acceptance and I think community is the word I'm really looking for here, but yeah, so I think that's one of the main things that we're trying to do. The one thing is that we can't really offer like a revenue share, because this film is going to be released free of charge to whatever network or platform is able to take it. And so we're not necessarily trying to appeal to anybody's sense of investment. This isn't an investment to be able to flip the next day and sell for twice what you paid for it. This is an investment in a project with real people with real results. And I feel very strongly that this project is one of the few out there that is actually trying to tackle something and do it without dollar signs in their eyes. And so really that's kind of the main goal. And so it really has to be a grassroots thing that we have to bring people in. We have to show people and get them interested as much as we're interested in this, in telling this story.
Yeah, maybe I could jump in on that as well in terms of like the IP and the business model and so on. I mean, what Matt has described really stems from much earlier in the Sam the Hedgehog journey, where we committed to release the final short film to the public, and we made a decision quite early on that we tried to sell the idea, but we're told at festivals that there isn't really a business model for short films. You can't really sell a short film. There isn't really a market for that. Most short films are like R&D projects for Pixar, or they're grant funded in Europe, that sort of thing. So we thought, well, let's try this differently. We gotta come up with innovative ways to fund original storytelling. And we tried corporate sponsorship, which almost worked, but didn't quite. And we tried the crowdfunding route, and that helped us enabled us to build all the sets, which was a huge milestone. And then NFTs came up, and so at its core, it's always had a very charitable kind of nature, and a lot of people have put in goodwill into the project, like voiceover actors giving their voices for free and stuff like that. And so like Matt says, it's not really a project that meaning for you to flip and whatever. But then there's still there's still the IP, and we're hoping to then, like, next stage, like, what can we do? Maybe we can then pitch a fully fledged series to Netflix based on the IP, and then we can start talking about revenue sharing and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. I got to jump on, Matt, you threw out a term that's new to me, maybe not to you, James, but Film 3. Love it. Let's tell us more about Film 3. Did you guys come up with that, or is that already a term that's floating out there?
I wish I came up with that, because when I heard it for the first time, I was like, that's gonna stick. That's gonna stick. We've seen people talking about Web3. Nobody knows what Web3 is. We still don't really know what it is, but we just know it's something above and beyond of what Web2 is. And the same can be said about film, especially in the NFT world. I mean, we saw first it was just pixelated JPEGs. The earliest NFTs were very, very simple. And then you started getting the ones that are hosted on IPFS and have a bit higher data size. And so people were posting their artwork, and then it turned into photography. And so naturally we're seeing all these different industries. Like, first it's art, then it's photography, then it's music, and now film and animation. And so when we call it Web3, I think Film 3, I heard it for the first time from a friendly project that we're associated with, the Hat Man. They're creating a horror film, which is completely different from our film, but still we're both in this ecosystem of NFTs and film. And so he called it Film 3, and ever since then I love using that term, and because I think it makes people realize that there's a new way to do these things. Yeah, and it just really encompasses all of it.
Yeah, if I could jump in there and add to that, I think Film 3 is going to be a big thing this year, and I think that a lot of the established filmmakers are taking note. And I've been in a couple of spaces where the conversation has been really fascinating, and I think it has to do with bringing a little bit of that, like, Web3 ethos of decentralization, and maybe there's another way we can make movies. You don't have to be massive giants, massive streaming giant or Disney or whatever to make a film. It's opening up a new way for independent producers to create stories and build communities of their own accord, and not have to rely on the big gatekeepers of the industry to get anything made or anything distributed. Or so yeah, I think the simplest way of describing Film 3 is just applying that decentralized Web3 kind of, not philosophy, but the ethos really to the filmmaking sphere, and I think it's really exciting. I think I was trying to think, okay, so we've got Web3, Film 3, what Anim 3, Anim, it doesn't quite work for animation, but maybe we'll come up with something. But yeah, it's I think that it's the future. We don't know exactly what it will look like in all the details, but it's certainly opening up a lot of exciting new opportunities.
Yeah, and I think it's global, right? I mean, the internet was a promise of kind of removing barriers across a number of fronts, right? Whether it be political, social, geographic. We're certainly seeing that in Web3, as evidenced by the fact we've got a diverse group here talking about your story today. On that, we are coming up on time, so I don't want to keep you guys too far past the hour. So I'm going to jump to a couple closing questions, if you don't mind. And that's really simply, you guys have come so far. You're minting this month on a great month for autism awareness. And we certainly hope to get the message out to our audience. But share any lessons learned for the folks that tune into Story Prima and want to learn about NFT projects and storytelling and creative. Any key lessons learned as you've kind of gone on this stage of the venture to launch the Hedgie Fund?
I'd say number one, money doesn't grow on trees. It takes hard work and effort, and you need something of value. You need a story that's compelling, or a project that's compelling, and yeah, you got to get that first. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah.
I as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I work in marketing, and this has completely blown my mind about how to market a project and how to get people interested. You can't just, it's not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they won't come. No, you have to put in the hard work. You have to keep talking about your project. You have to get as many people to see it. And it takes a long time. It takes hard work and a long time, and hours above and beyond the actual technical and artistic efforts that you need to put into the project. Just marketing your project is so incredibly difficult. Yeah, that's the big one for me.
And consistency. You gotta be consistent. Yeah.
Consistent, persistent, boots on the ground, get the hard work done. Amazing.
Yeah.
We've got two final fun questions that I close with, but before I jump into those standard questions, I want to check in with my good friend, co-founder, colleague, and co-host James. Any final parting questions for Matt and Mike before we go?
Yeah, Mike, I found a video on YouTube of you giving advice to the, sorry, my dog's in the background, giving advice to the students who are graduating from Johannesburg Animation Studio. And there was a line that stuck out with me, and it was create, don't consume, or something to that effect. And
it's better to create than to consume.
It's better to create than to consume. And I think it's just so poignant for Film 3 and Web 3 that if you're going to consume, then you must assist in creating, and whether that's propping up a project or jumping in Discord and bouncing ideas off people. Like, it's a real opportunity for audiences to help create before they consume, So Yeah, I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing here with all the hard work and all the innovation and the message behind the story as well. It's just so good.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
line was a play on the it's better to give than to receive kind of idea, and yeah, it's sort of become a personal sort of philosophy to try and live by.
Again, I think, we'll shamelessly plug the Hedgie Fund NFT because you guys are clearly modest and purpose driven. So we'll shamelessly plug it with our communities. Go out and get your Hedgie Fund NFT. So check out the links in the podcast posting. And for those of you watching on YouTube, click on the links below to get your Hedgie. Okay, final two fun questions. NFTs and their future, fad or enduring?
I told Mike many times that it's going to be just like crypto was in 2017. Everybody thought it was a scam, and guess what? 99% of them were. But in the end, the good ones stick around. New projects come along that are brilliant and innovative. This technology is not going anywhere. This is just the beginning. I think it's breaking down the walls for how people are going to be able to invest in projects that they want to invest in and people that they want to invest in. I think it's definitely just the start of what we're about to see.
It's in the Wild West phase.
Yeah, totally. Good point. Yeah, definitely enduring, but there's going to be many bad actors to shake out. And lots of work to be done to make Web3 and NFTs more consumable by the masses, if you will. But since we all agree that it's an enduring capability, how long until a decentralized autonomous organization is standing up there accepting a mainstream award like an Academy Award, short film, Emmy, Grammy, that sort of thing? What do you guys think? How many years?
Sam the Hedgehog is going to win at NSC.
Love it.
I think we will see that sooner rather than later as someone winning an award. This space is moving so fast. Yeah, it's going to happen.
We agree. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. Absolutely a pleasure to speak to you. And, there's very few truly purpose-driven, plenty of mission-driven projects, plenty of projects with a vision and a creative spark of inspiration, but yours is clearly purpose-driven. So thank you for your time, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks so much.
Cheers, guys.